Hello and welcome to my knitting podcast. Oh my goodness, it has been a little bit of a while. It's actually the 1st of March as I'm filming this, and the last time I recorded was I think before Christmas. So it's been a bit of a while. There has been a lot going on, but that's not what this is about. This is about knitting, and there has been lots of that going on in the time that I haven't spoken to you. So we are going to be going through lots of things, which is very exciting. And I'm actually just so excited to talk about these because a lot of these projects have been quite long term, or they've been in my mind for a long time. And it's been really nice. Like this weekend, I did a full spring clean of WIPs, old ideas that I'd thought of and wanted, and just like, and I've got a nice few pieces that have just entered my wardrobe in the last week, which I'm really excited about, so I'm very happy to talk about them. Okay, so kicking it off, this is so funny because it technically has taken me over a year to knit these socks. But they took me about it was probably a week worth of knitting, but I don't know, I think it's because it's not very transportable because they're cabled, and so it just meant that I couldn't take it around with me. A lot of the knits which I finish faster are because I can take them on the go, and when I've got charts that are a bit more complex and non-repeating especially, it's really difficult to take around with me. So it took me over a year to finish these, but they are so beautiful, and as a scientist they make me so happy. These are the Denature socks by Margaret Mills, and if you can see, it is DNA that then splits off into 2 strands. And if you don't know, I am a biochemist, an aspiring cancer biology researcher, so I look at a lot of DNA. And I love these socks because they've even got the major and minor grooves, which is like accurate as to how DNA looks. It's not like a perfect straight tube. And yeah, I'm just such a massive nerd when it comes to knitting and science. So these have been ongoing for a while because, as you can see, it's not a repeating pattern per se. Like the charts are quite difficult. And you have to cable while you're doing the heel flap, and also I don't know if you can see, the chart is inverted on either side of the sock, so you're following a lot of different charts at the same time. And yeah, I mean it is quite a lot of knitting. It's quite a long sock, to be honest. It's quite a big sock. They poke out the top of my boots, which I love because I hate when I've knitted a lovely pair of socks and you can't see them. And I wear my boots all the time, so this is really good. The yarn is, So the yarn is Yarnsmiths superwash merino in Deep Teal. Now this was before I realised that superwash isn't my favourite textural sensation, and I still love them. I'm gonna wear them. They're still feel somewhat woolly, and they will be easier to wash, which is great. Now the thing with this, it is merino and it is superwash, and they are very soft, which is lovely, but it meant that even as I was knitting these socks, they started to pill just from my just from knitting them up. So I do hope that it's just the initial shedding, pilling, and once I give them a good comb through, they'll be fine. But either way, the design is incredibly cool, and as long as you can see the design, which I think you can, then I'm happy. But yeah, I'm really happy these are finished. And yeah, I started them December of 2024, and I finished them February of 2026. So yeah, not that long of knitting, but I finished the first sock and just took ages to start the second sock and to continue the second sock, and you know, there's always another project you can do, but I'm so happy these are done because I've just had that one sock, and the one sock looks really cool. The colour's great, the design is fantastic, and again, it was designed by a scientist, Margaret Mills. Links for all of the patterns, yarns, everything will be in the description as per usual. But yeah, I absolutely flipping love these. And I'm actually starting my master's in cancer biology in London, so I know I'm gonna wear on my first day. Okay, so next thing is another smaller project, and then I've got a very exciting project coming after this, so stay tuned. So I have found out that I have become obsessed with like the NakedKnit bralettes. I love these. So this is I believe it's just called the simple bra or the basic bra. I'll put it in the description, and the yarn for this is Sirdar cashmere merino silk in the shade Little Pig. All of the shade names are named after like fairy tale characters, so I think it's like Snow Queen, Three Little Pigs, you know, all of that kind of thing. And this is super soft. It's really nice. As I said, it's cashmere, merino and silk, so it's quite breathable as well. It's not too woolly. I made another one in Fonty Urga, I think, which is yak and wool, and that feels incredibly soft on my skin. But when I got my mum to feel it, she was like, that is super itchy. So I've always found it funny how people find different textures and sensations from yarns. But this is undeniably soft and nice to work with. It is very slippy. It was a little bit difficult at times. It splits a little bit. I don't know if there's a bit of resistance from the more woolly strands and the silky strands within the yarn, but the final product I'm really happy with. You can see the straps are a little bit short, but that's kind of because I wanted the back to come up higher, because yeah, I like wearing these kinds of bralettes in the summer and also with certain dresses, certain tops, and I always have my, like, I don't know, the backs of my bras always go too low. And bra experts, you're probably going to tell me that I'm wearing the wrong bra size, and that's probably true. But for now, as I could customize it, I just made it so that the back, as you wear it, comes up a little bit higher. And I love that shape. It's almost more like, it's like a halfway like razorback kind of thing. I don't know. I feel like it just gives me a bit more support, especially as it's a wool bralette, which I feel like with my other one, my issue was I put elastic in the band, but the straps weren't tight enough and it didn't come up as much as I wanted. So it means that I've kind of got this like tight band, which then like falls below my rib cage because I've got a very short torso. I don't know, guys, it's a whole thing. So yeah, anyway, this is a much better version and I highly recommend the pattern. It's very adjustable. I always struggle because I've got a small band and a larger bust, and it was really nice that you could customize it. I feel like that with my first version I knit it off gauge and I was like, why hasn't this worked? And then I knit this one on gauge and I was like, oh, okay, that's absolutely fine. So yeah, love both versions, but this version was definitely a bigger success. Highly recommend. I find that I just love like putting my like linen trousers on, chilling out in the house. Now it's getting warmer and sunnier, as you can hopefully see. It will definitely get a lot of use, and I'm very excited to go to the Crescent in Bath and sunbathe and relax come end of exams. So this project I have had like in my mind's eye for so long, and I just didn't really know how to execute it. I think I was quite intimidated because I've not done a lot of lace knitting before, and I started this I believe on the 10th of January and I finished it on the 28th of Feb. So it took me just over a month, maybe 6 weeks, whilst I was knitting plenty of other things and designing a pattern, which I will talk about at the end. But yes, this has been in my mind's eye. I've had this vision of a certain outfit, which is how I know like I'm gonna get a lot of wear out of something, because I get the urge for a certain thing, and it's not like a fad urge, because this isn't like necessarily a trending pattern at the minute. It's been around for a while. So without further ado, this is my Barbroe blouse, which is it's a pattern from the Knitting for Olive pattern book, and I believe you can buy it as an individual pattern. So they have the pattern for like a vest with this lace pattern. They have a long sleeve version, which is what I use to follow this. And then I think they also have like another kind of tank toppy version maybe. But I visioned this very clearly with like cap sleeves because I like that it's high neck and I love the keyhole back. You can't see it so well, so I might try and put a photo up of like me wearing it because I got some photos of that this morning. But yeah, I had this vision. It had to be the high neck with the cap sleeve and not too long. The original version, I guess, the original version to me looks a little bit more like, I don't know, like a bit more of like a jumper that I'd wear over like a tank top or a vest or something for the spring. But I was kind of like, with British weather, I feel like it's not, like it wouldn't be warm enough because it's like a long sleeve high neck top, but it's lace. So if it's windy, which it is more often than not here, it just would be too cold. And then if it was like sunny, it would be too warm because it's high neck and long sleeves. So anyway, this is knitted in one strand of the Knitting for Olive Merino in the shade Bordeaux. And I love this so much. I will say, when I first started knitting this, I was counting the chart each time. It doesn't say in the pattern to put stitch markers at each pattern repeat. I could not recommend this enough. As soon as I did that, like the rest is mindless. Like it's a very, very, very simple chart that you can memorize and you can just take it on the bus and whatever. And yeah, I had a lot of travel at the beginning of this year. My partner was in hospital, and so I was going back and forth to London to go and see him, and I would just chuck this in my bag and I could memorize the pattern, and it was so engaging but simple. And there are a few reasons that I put off knitting this, and I know quite a lot of people who have really wanted to knit this but feel quite intimidated because it is on 3mm needles and it is lace and it is, I don't know, I feel like it looks confusing when it's written in the book because this is one of my complaints about the Knitting for Olive pattern book. They spread out the patterns so far beyond like what is needed. I think they've wasted a lot of paper like just to make it like a big chunky book, which is fine, design choice, whatever. But it's actually, I looked at it and I thought, oh my god, that looks so complicated. And there's like, the sleeves are done separately and then they're sewn on and then you've got the keyhole back and it looks like it's going to be really confusing. But there's actually just a lot of different instructions for different sizes because of the number of stitch counts and the number of chart repeats, and you have to cut things off at certain points. And I did make a mistake on the sleeves, but it is so insignificant. I literally don't think anyone would notice. I barely notice. And I'm just really happy with what I've managed to do. Again, it's my first proper lace garment, and I now really want to knit a lace cardigan as well, so that's definitely on my list. But yeah, it's high neck, it's cap sleeve. I think that is temperature wise makes more sense to me because I'll want to wear it when it's not like roasting hot like last year, but I think around springtime when it's, you know, a little bit less windy and rainy. And yeah, I'm excited to wear it for a date night or for cocktails or something. And it's just really cute, and I think it has like pushed me into summer top knitting, and I've not really made a lot of tops. I've made a lot of jumpers and vests and socks and things. But this was actually really fun, and I'm like a lot more motivated to knit summer tops. I think the small needle size always puts me off and I'm like, oh, it's gonna take so long. But also, you're not knitting like long sleeves necessarily, like if you're making a tank top especially, it's basically just a tube and then 2 flat panels, which is actually, I find, you know, takes about the same time as a jumper would. Plus, you can often get more wear out of it because, you know, you can layer it. In the summer, you can just wear it as is. In the winter, you can wear it with a jumper or a cardigan on top or something. And so yeah, I'm very excited for my summer knitting plans. Maybe I'll make a video on that. But these buttons, oh my gosh, they're so cute. They are shell, and it was so funny. I love the Guildhall Market in Bath for buttons, haberdashery items, And I went to the shopkeeper and I was like, hi, like just to check, what are these buttons made of? And she was saying, oh, they're shell. I don't know if that's what you're looking for. And I was like, no, I hate plastic. I'm looking for shell or mother of pearl or whatever. And she was like, oh, thank God. She was like, so many people complain about shell. And I understand because they can break. But I just think it looks so nice and they're so like shiny and unique and interesting. So yeah, I'll try and put a photo of me wearing this in the video. But I absolutely love this top and I'm so excited to get some wear out of it. Okay, now we move on to the next thing. This was actually the first thing out of all of these that I completed. I completed this at Christmas after I'd finished the pairs of mittens for my uncle and auntie to go skiing. And I just needed something really plain because it was my dissertation submission due date. I had exams coming up. It was quite stressful to say the least. And so yeah, I just needed something really plain and stockinette. This is the Novice Slipover by Petiteknit and it's knit with Alpaca 3. It's Isager and it's a wool alpaca blend. I love alpaca, I find it really soft. Some people find it really itchy. I love it. I got inspired to make this because, and I'm sure I've told this story before, I saw someone at one of the uni buildings wearing a grey slipover like this with nothing underneath, just like, you know, whatever, bra. And then she had these big chunky gold hoops. Her hair was in like a little updo. She had these baggy jeans on and she looked so cool. And I was like, I want to look like that. So I literally went out and bought the yarn that day. And I can't tell you how nice this feels. Honestly, if you like alpaca, please do yourself a favour and knit with this because it works up so quickly. It's very, I hope you can see like with the light, it's very textured. So I always have an issue with rowing out when I'm knitting flat and then in the round in the same piece. My pearl rows just aren't that great and that's fine. I don't make hand knits for it to look like it's been made by a machine. So I'm quite happy with the levels of variegation. But because it's so textured, it's almost like when, it's not the level of texture of like boucle, but it's that same kind of effect where there's like twisting within the yarn itself that then makes the stitches less obvious if you've kind of not done a perfect row. So I honestly love this. I wear this all the time. I wear it with shirts, I wear it on its own, I wear it with t-shirts, I put it over dresses. It's very, very versatile and it's super comfy and practical for the spring. The pattern, again, it's Petiteknit. I'm not going to say much about the pattern. It is super easy to follow. It's called the Novice Slipover for a reason. And I'm very much not a beginner anymore, but I would really recommend this as a beginner pattern. And yeah, it worked up incredibly quickly. The thing I will say, I cast off the ribbing at the bottom and I was quite nervous it was going to be too short, and I was like, oh, I think I've jumped the gun, which I do often, which is I'm like, yeah, that's about right, and then I make it like that bit like just too short, but then as soon as I blocked it, it grew a lot and it ended up being like quite a bit longer. So I'd say if you're knitting anything with this yarn, maybe just do a gauge swatch and check how like your row gauge, rows? Stitch? Yeah, sorry, just trying to work that out. Yeah, your row gauge is like vertical, like, you know, how the stitches stack on top of each other. Just make sure that that doesn't grow too much. And again, you never fully know because I think like the weight of the garment pulled it down, and I think the biggest area where it actually grew were the armholes. So you can see the armholes are quite deep, which I love. Like that was absolutely the vibe that I wanted to come across. But yeah, the yarn is fantastic. The pattern's super easy. If you are trying to get one of your friends into knitting, I think this is a really good pattern. You know, if it's their birthday and you want to get them a pattern and some yarn and some needles, maybe to get them inspired, this is a really good basic that I think a lot of people would see in a shop and want to buy, but that you can make yourself. And the yarn means that it doesn't show mistakes that much. It just looks really nice and textured, and yeah. I mean, half the things I wear, it's so annoying because people, like, as my knitting has improved, people don't ask me if I made things anymore because they think I just got them from the shop, and I'm like, no, I swear, I made them. So yeah, this is a really, really good pattern and yarn choice, and I love this garment and I get so much wear out of it. I highly recommend. So that brings us on to what I'm wearing, which, oh my gosh, I started this a while ago. I started this around the same time as my Ovis, I think. But yeah, either way, I started on this and then ended up really hating the process, and I just was like, it was dragging. I think the thing is, it's a very, so because it's drop shoulder, like you can see, the rows are so long. They are so long. And when you're knitting everything flat and the rows, like, as soon as you cast on, are massive, it feels like you're making zero progress. And like, stripes usually go a bit faster. With the body of this, I did not find that. So I knitted probably like the back panel and the front two panels, and I hadn't quite joined it yet, under the arms, and then I left it for ages. Came back to it occasionally, like here and there. I found this really difficult. Again, the determining factor of whether or not I get a knit done in a decent amount of time is how transportable it is, because I'm such an on-the-go knitter. And this was knitted up with a strand of BC Garn Loch Lomond, I think that's how you say it, and a strand of Rowan Kidsilk. And these were yarns that I bought just before I left Oxford because I had like vouchers and rewards and stuff to use up. And so I got the yarn from the 2 local yarn shops there. And I love this combination, but it meant that I had 4 balls of yarn attached to something which was really long. And the cable was really long with the interchangeables, and it just ended up getting very like, whoa. And so it took me quite a while. So I think then after Christmas I came back and I knitted up both sleeves. So I basically had just joined like maybe one stripe under the armpit, and then I knit both pairs of sleeves because of yarn chicken, and I was very scared of losing yarn chicken, and I'll come on to that. So knit the sleeves, that was fine, and then I got back to the body, and I was like, I can't knit these pearl rows. I can't. I'm never going to finish this. And because it's like mohair, I didn't want to unravel everything. So it's Winter Olympics. It's just been the Winter Olympics. Lots of those kinds of jumpers. And I was like, wait, surely I can steek this. Like, mohair's really sticky. I think it'll be fine. The wool itself, the BC Garn, like, is quite like, I don't know, like grabby. And so I thought, maybe this is the perfect thing to steek. And I did. And I'm so glad I did, because it made the process a lot easier. And I had like a week off of uni. I did all of my exams. I had a week off of uni. I went home and I came back to Bath, and I just could work in the round, little bits here and there. And then yeah, this last week I got to a certain point with it, and I really like where it hits. I'll like maybe do some B-roll or something and stand up and do a little 360. But it hits at like the perfect point on my jeans. I didn't want it to be super long because I find that I'm really short, and like long cardigans cut me off in a weird way. So I do quite like a cropped cardigan, and I like that it's functional. You can open it. I won't because I've got my microphone attached to it right now. But the inside, I can like pull it up here. You can see where I steeked it and sewed down the steeks. And yeah, I don't find that it's bulky. If anything, it just gives a little bit more structure to the button band, because the button band is essentially, you know, not to give anything away, but it's essentially just like ribbing knit flat. So it's not like a double knitted button band where it has a lot of structure. So it's actually quite a nice structural support either side of the button bands, just to help it support the weight of that. And I find that it actually, like, with other things I've made in the past, like the Hannah cardigan by NakedKnit, controversial, but that was in the past. And I find that there's a lot of like the pulling between the like placket with the button and the placket with the buttonhole. I find that it always looks a bit off, whereas I think because there's so much structure, this looks very flat and even, which is so nice. So yeah, I literally blocked this a couple of days ago, and this is my first time where I'm gonna take a day out wearing it. The mohair or the Kidsilk is so lovely. I've never really worked with this before because it's so expensive, but and I think I mentioned in a previous video, I went to the Oxford Yarn store and a very, very kind worker helped me match up the BC Garn Loch Lomond with the Rowan Kidsilk so that I could have the best possible match for the effect that I wanted. And I think it's worked out incredibly well. Like you can see in the sunlight, hopefully. It's so lovely. The mohair is very like, the halo is very fluffy. It's very, very fluffy, like probably on par with Isager. I find it very soft. I don't find it itchy at all. And I just love with the Loch Lomond, there are little flecks of like blue and orange. I don't know if you can really see, unfortunately, but in person you can really see it, and it just, everything gets picked up in a beautiful way, and I'm really happy with the finished product, and I'm so glad the process of knitting it is over. And again, it's an Olga jacket. It's a Petiteknit pattern. Like there's nothing wrong with it. It's not difficult. It just like dragged, and I don't enjoy that. So yes, very happy with the finished product, and even more happy that I don't have to continue to knit this. So that is all of the finished objects that I have that I can show you, but I also have something very exciting to mention, which is the release of my first pattern, which is the race weekend beanie. So this came about because my boyfriend is going through radiotherapy and chemotherapy at the minute, and he has requested that I make him like a little rotation of beanies, just so that he can have one in the wash, because they're all wool, like natural fibres. He wants to have, you know, one that he can wear while one is in the wash, and all of those kinds of things. And so that has been kind of ongoing, you know, little beanies here and there. And this week is actually his birthday, and he's an identical twin, so he's got an identical twin brother, and they are both obsessed with the F1. And so I thought, okay, why don't I make a beanie which has got, you know, like F1 ties or something like that. And so I looked on the Ravelry page, and there was just nothing that really inspired much joy. There was nothing which really screamed out to me. So I decided to take matters into my own hands, and I went on Stitch Fiddle and designed kind of like a base car silhouette, and then I created the 11 now liveries for the 2026 season based off of all of the car designs, which I thought was quite cool. And yeah, it's like a very basic hat pattern, but the thing that's of interest is the liveries. The pattern is free, and I've had quite a lot of interest. Like, it got released I think 3 days ago, and I've had 100 saves from people on Ravelry, which is really sweet. And it's in perfect time because F1 season starts next weekend, or maybe this weekend by the time that I post this. And yeah, I think it's really fun. There's been a lot of interest into the sport. I was never a fan until my boyfriend got me into it kind of in the 2025 season, and now I'm slightly obsessed. And I thought this would be a really good pattern for people who knit and love F1, but I'm sure there are plenty of knitters who have family or friends who love F1. And yeah, there just weren't many patterns out there. And I was a bit like, is this like copyright issues? But also at the end of the day, it's an orange car. It's a white and red car. Like, it's not like I've got any logos or anything on it. It's just a free pattern for people who love F1 and people who want to kind of do something fun and something personal. And so yeah, it's a really good scrap project pattern. I used drops Nepal for both samples, and I used basically a ball and a half for the like skull cap, like the basic hat pattern, and then just such minimal for the car. So for anyone who's got any like Aran weight, maybe like a light chunky or worsted, whatever, anything around that kind of gauge, if you've got scraps, like this is so perfect. And it was so quick to knit. They both took me about a week, and that was with blocking and sewing all the ends in. So yeah, very excited. If you want to go and find that, my Ravelry username is linked below, and there are the pattern is free, as I said. If you just type in race weekend beanie, it should come up. I am Lily May Knits, and so yeah, you should be able to see that. And yeah, I'm really excited to see people's versions of this, because I obviously knitted the versions of the teams that my boyfriend and his brother support, which is McLaren and Ferrari. So I'd be really interested to see people knit up the other liveries. You know, I want to see an Aston, I want to see a Mercedes. So very much looking forward to seeing people's versions. But yeah, so I haven't got any interesting WIPs right now because I've literally just cleared out everything. I've got the book club cardigan, which I've made zero progress on because I've been finishing all of this stuff off. And the other WIP that I've got, which is kind of crazy, is I'm running the Bath Half Marathon for the Brain Tumour charity in a couple of weeks. So I'm making a hat which looks like a brain. So it's at the minute it's just ribbing, there's nothing fun to show. I did get an I-cord making machine though, which is so fun. It's one of the crank ones, not the electric ones. And it took me a while to like grasp and to understand like why do all of the stitches keep dropping, but it ended up being an absolute godsend, because I mean some people have said, depending on like the size you make and the weight of yarn you use, I saw some people saying they did like 40 feet of I-cord or something. I was not about to knit that when I've only got 2 weeks, so I'm going to make the hat. I've already cranked out the I-cords, which I think should be enough. But I'm going to finish the hat, and then if I need more I-cord I can just use the rest of the yarn. But yeah, this was a good scrap project because it's the leftover yarn from my Winnie sweater. So it's kind of like pinky, orangey. It's a very good brain colour, to be fair. But yeah, very excited to put that together. So maybe you'll see a little brain hat on my Instagram at some point. But yeah, I'm raising money for the Brain Tumour charity. And very, very not looking forward to actually running the half marathon, but at least in 2 weeks it will be done. So yeah, I'm hoping at the next episode I'll have some fun things which I'm actively working up. I've got a lot of options, but I need to think about what I want in my wardrobe at this moment in time, because I feel like you've got to think at least a couple of months in advance, and that's going to be summer and that's going to be warm. So I don't think casting on a sweater is going to be particularly useful now. But who knows? Who knows? We'll see what I end up casting on. I'm definitely going to cast on a pair of socks once I finish the brain hat. The brain hat is first thing that needs to go, and then once that's done, that is all of the projects which I have to do. And I'm definitely going to cast on a pair of socks. I made my boyfriend a pair of swan socks yonks ago, and I need to make myself a matching pair so that we can match. And it's almost coming to the end of knitted sock season, where it doesn't get too hot for you to wear them, so I am going to try and crank those out so we can at least have a month or two of matching sock wearing. So yes, I will keep you updated what I'm working on the next episode, but I hope this was insightful or enjoyable or whatever you come here for. And yeah, have a lovely rest of your day. Happy knitting. Bye!